I lost my children in both of my lives. You'd think once would be enough. I have to endure it as two different people.
Let's get back to your dreams,
Dr. Rupert says. That's what he calls my other life. Dreams. I don't blame him because that's what I tell him I'm dealing with. You need to massage the truth in a situation like this. I spend my career on the other side of the couch, and I know what I would think, professionally as a clinician, if not emotionally, if some grief-addled woman wandered into my office talking about living an alternate life. He clicks his pen ceremoniously. White light burns through the blinds behind his desk. I close my eyes and the striped pattern glows violet.
What happened to you last night?
His voice sounds the way peanut butter tastes. I know that's an odd description, but it's accurate. Smooth, light, and soothing. It's become a ritual comfort for me, seeing nothing and hearing only Dr. Rupert and the hum of an air vent. I don't know, I say.
Roya?
I sigh. I love when he says my name.
Were you driving again? Another dream of this red Camaro?
No.
What then?
I shrug. Aren't we about out of time?
We have 10 more minutes.
10 minutes until I'm out the door?
10 minutes,
he repeats.
Until the end of our session.
That means business is done, I declare.
Oh?
He chuckles. 10 minutes, Doctor. Tick-tock. I've talked enough. Come over here and talk to me. I hear him get up from his desk. The air shifts a bit. He's standing over me.
What do you want me to say?
He asks innocently. Tell me what you dream about. I feel his weight sink into the couch. He touches my ankle with a finger and slides it slowly up my leg, over my chest, and up to my face. A soft pink light pulses under my eyelids.
I dream of quite exotic things, he whispers.
Tell me, I moan. The finger moves the strap of my dress and slips it off my shoulder.
Better to show you, he says.
I could have cried handing the guy the keys. I think he could tell. He had these black eyes that sort of looked through you. Don't worry, he said, jingling the keys. I'll treat her like my own daughter. Yeah, I said. I smiled. I wasn't about to cry in front of some dude. He smiled back. The sun made his black hair glisten. When transferring the title to him, I discovered his legal name was Benjamin Franklin. I didn't know if that was a joke or a coincidence. So, he said, Ray's Pizza Parlor, eh? Over on the east side, right? Maybe I'll swing by sometime. I got a buddy who swears by your calzones. Okay, I told him. I hoped he wouldn't. I didn't want to see him again. Young hotshot making off with my car. He didn't look like the real Ben Franklin. This guy was long, dark, and handsome. I put the roll of cash in my pocket and looked down at the street. He scratched at the sweaty dewdrops in his hair. Well, pleasure doing business with you. Benjamin Franklin got in my cherry red Camaro and drove it away, and that was the end of it. It felt like divorce all over again. I started walking and told myself, no one needs a car in New York. Two little children are running around the subway train like animals. I can't even tell who's responsible for them. Bang! The boy says to the girl, pointing a finger gun at her. She screams in agony and crashes onto the seat next to me, dead. The boy runs up and puts his finger against her head. Bang, 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 bang! The girl twitches and convulses with every shot. I look around. Everyone pretends not to notice. I scan the faces and try to guess who brought these demons on board. A text from a client pops up on my watch. Roya, it says, I think I'm having delusions. I sigh and ignore it. The little boy points his gun at me. Bang! He yells. I slump dead in my seat, my corpse rocking with the motion of the train. The boy and girl laugh like maniacs. The hold music was infuriating. Some happy horseshit pop song. I couldn't tell the gender of the singer. They kept trying to encourage me. You can be who you want to be, they'd say. Or, you only live once. These are debatable points. In between all the fake positivity, I had to listen to Chad and Kyle out in the kitchen. Bro, are you dead ass? Kyle asked. He was spreading dough over the counter, his hands powdered white. On my mama, bro, Chad replied, sliding a pizza into the oven. Bitches there don't even suck dick. Trash school, bro. How long did you stay there? Like a week, dude. Kyle threw his head back and laughed like he'd never heard a funnier thing. Bro, what? I'm being so dead ass, bro, Chad said. The hold music finally cut off. Alrighty, you still with me, Ray? Vinny said in my ear. I turned and leaned over my desk and covered my other ear. Yeah, go ahead. What the hell's all that? All what? A pan fell over in the kitchen. Chad and Kyle pointed at each other and made accusatory noises. That? Vinny said. Are you at a farm? I had to hire some kids. How's that working out? They fucking suck! I covered the phone. Hey! I yelled. Shut up for a minute! They were quiet for about 4 seconds and then they started giggling again. Well, how about some more good news? Vinny said. Thrill me. You're gonna be out of business in a month. I pushed my chair back, but it's a small office. The back of my head hit the wall. What does that mean? I asked. Well, Vinny sighed. Money is this thing they invented to make the world run, and you don't have any. But you got my check, right? The check from the car. You ran my numbers with the check. Oh yeah. Alright, maybe 2 months. Christ all fucking mighty. How? How is this possible? It's just math, buddy. Your business is no longer solvent. Fuck. I sat there shaking my head for a minute. The light above my office flickered and hummed. 2 flies chased each other beneath it. Chad asked Kyle if he was dead ass. Look, Vinny said gently. I figure we're old friends and I can give it to you straight. You're a straight-talking guy, so I just figured... No, yes, good. No bullshit. I'm just trying to... What are my options here? Give me some options. It sounded like Vinny put food in his mouth. Well, he mumbled. Option A is to make more money quick, fast, and in a hurry. Option B is to make even more money in an even bigger hurry. Or you could go with option C, which is to close the business. I sold my car, Vin, I said. My voice sounded small, weak. I just sold my fucking Camaro for this. Well, Vinny said again, not to talk myself out of a job or nothing, but you aren't saving any money hiring me, even with my family friend discount. My wife used to do the books, I explained. I know. She's gone now. Took the kids and left. I'm not allowed to see him. I know, Ray. The flies came down on my desk. I batted them away and they buzzed right back. Look, I gotta go think, I said. Yep. Vinny hung up and I walked out of my office and through the kitchen. Kyle balled up a thick wad of dough and threw it at Chad. It bounced off with a solid thud and Chad spun around. Bro, I will dead ass fuck you up, he laughed. I ignored them and went up to the counter. A young couple was waiting there. The fuck's it take to get some service in this place? The guy said. His girlfriend elbowed him and shot him a glare. I stepped to the register and took their order, thinking it was time to play the lottery. I had 2 lives that were both shit. Those had to be some kind of odds. I don't want to endanger you, Dr. Rupert says. I look into his strange eyes, one blue, one brown. and realize I have spent far more time hearing this man than seeing him. You don't, I assure him. Quite the contrary, in fact. Our arrangement is perfectly therapeutic. He dips his head. The blinds behind his desk are open this time, and I can see the rolling green of Central Park. His office smells like apples. Endorphins are therapeutic, he says. I enjoy our time together much as you do. But I fear that if we neglect your condition, we will only make it worse in the long run. I lean back into the couch. My good doctor, are you suggesting that we terminate our arrangement? No, he says quickly. Then what are you saying? He folds his hands over his desk and leans forward. I am saying my concern for you has transcended the professional. It is now personal. I want to help you be well. But you do. We are distracted. He puts his hand on his heart and grins. It is the most lovely possible distraction, but a distraction nonetheless. We need to tie these dreams of yours back to the trauma that caused them. Otherwise, I am being wildly irresponsible with your psyche. I look him over with a new heat. He must realize that his integrity and his genuine care for me makes him more attractive, not less. But that's not why he's doing it. His intentions are honest. I can tell. You learn a lot about a person when you allow them to know you. Dr. Rupert is neither handsome nor ugly. Tall and thin, salt and pepper hairline, slightly receding. A somewhat delicate, yet highly sophisticated constitution. You wouldn't call him a model of manliness, but at this moment his sex appeal is in the stratosphere. He notices the look in my eyes and grabs his notepad. Right, he says, making his tone as analytical as possible. Why don't you give me an overview of this situation with your dreams? You want me to start from the beginning? I ask. Just a general overview, he repeats. As a refresher, they are sporadic, yes? They do not occur nightly. I sigh and close my eyes. Correct. Give me a ballpark. How often would you say they occur? Certainly no less than once a week. Often multiple times a week. I hear him scribble in his notepad, though I don't know why. It isn't as if this information is new to him. I open my eyes again and giggle. There's an innocence to this formulaic display, despite the scandalous context. Come on. He suppresses a grin with serious effort, and that only makes me laugh harder. Damn it, Roya, please. Just for now, be serious. We need to get this straight. I clear my throat. Sorry. Now, he says. You always dream of the same man, yes? I don't dream of him, I correct. I am him. I live his actual life for a day, or a few days, or however much subjective time passes in that particular dream. Eventually I, as this man, go to bed, and when I wake up I'm me again. Dr. Roya Belford. In every dream I have access to his every thought, and even his memories. It feels as though I've been him my entire life. He taps his chin with his pen. And in these dreams, as this man, you also remember being you. You remember being Roya. Yes, but I can't remember informational details. Names, addresses, phone numbers, business names, even license plate numbers. None of that information sticks when I pass from life to life. It's like I'm bouncing back and forth between parallel universes, and I can't take any identifying information with me. Unsurprising, he nods. When recalling dreams, your brain picks up only the gist, the general unfoldment of events and things that occurred. Finer details are not as likely to be stored. You're preaching to the choir, I say. Assuming these were normal dreams. But they aren't. How do you account for the amnesia? If I dream that I am this pizza guy for 3 days, I come back to this life having completely forgotten everything I've done here, as Roya, for 3 days. He buries his face in his notepad, as if the answer were hidden inside. Well, he mutters, squinting at the paper. I'm still speculating about that. Oh, me too, believe me. I have this thought, which I know is crazy, but I can't shake it. Sometimes I really think I am living both lives.
Yes, it probably feels real as anything. I bring my legs up on the couch and hug my knees. Nothing else makes sense. What could account for this? Why can I remember everything in this man's life so clearly except for his names and numbers? I can smell the inside of his pizza shop. I hear the voices of the dumb college kids he hired. I remember their conversation like I just listened to it. I know everything that ever happened to this guy. I can see the faces of his wife and children. Well, ex-wife now. I can feel his devastation at the divorce, the loss of custody. It's my devastation. I'm living with it right now as we speak. He points his pen at me and even clicks it for emphasis. But that right there is the key, I think. This dream man's life is centered around the loss of his family, just as your life has been ever since your own tragedy. I shake my head. That's not it. I know it's difficult to acknowledge, he says, but this is the connecting thread. Dr. Rupert, when you are this man, he interrupts firmly, but not unkindly, this nameless man, can you remember the accident? Your accident as Roya Belford? I don't answer for a moment. Roya, please, he says gently. I know it's hard to face this, but we need... Yes! Yes, I remember it. But when I'm him... I choke, disgusted by my own words. When I'm him, I don't remember their names. I understand, he soothes. But when you are dreaming as this man, you remember the events. Even without the names, you remember what happened. Yes! I wail. I remember everything. The whole accident. I see my children pulled out of the car. I see their blood. I see them zipped up into their body bags. I see it every fucking day, no matter which person I am. But when I am him, I don't remember their names. I sob hysterically. Dr. Rupert comes around to the couch and holds me for the rest of the session. I sat in my office and watched Kyle fumbling at the cash register during the lunch rush. I decided not to help. It was an exercise in character building. The hot forge of suffering and all that. I figured I should keep an eye on Chad in the kitchen and make sure he didn't burn the place down, but at this point I hoped he would. My insurance hadn't run out yet. A hand came up from the line of customers and seemed to be waving at me. The owner of the hand stepped out of line and I realized it was Vinny. I got up and walked around the counter to see him. All the hungry customers glared at me like I was a war criminal. I shook Vinny's hand. I had to come get a calzone while I still can, he said. Vinny was funny to look at. Short and squat. His head was bald and his face was wrinkled like a mask that was too big and got squished together. Hope you ain't holding your breath, I told him. Vinny looked at Kyle, sweating from the effort of counting change. He grunted. I got nowhere to be. Well, you want to sit and wait the line out? I gestured at a table in the corner that wasn't much bigger than a pizza. We squeezed ourselves around it and sat down amidst all the chatter and murmuring and beeping and humming. The place is a fucking sauna, Vinny said. He took off his oversized glasses, rubbed his eyes, and put them back on. I shrugged. Small space with a lot of ovens and body heat. Vinny studied the line of customers. Occasionally they would glance at us and whisper violent fantasies to their companions. If they had thought to bring pitchforks, Vinny and I would have been impaled. Is it always this busy? Vinny wondered. This time of day, sure. Christ, how did you fuck this up then? The money should be pouring in. Life happens, I said. Vinny laughed. Well, life happens, he mocked. What does that mean, hookers and blow? Inflation and divorce. Oh, inflation and divorce. He nodded and looked around. The line of customers was spilling out in our direction as people got their orders in and had to stand aside, waiting for their food. The mob crept closer and closer to us. Vinny fidgeted with his salt and pepper shakers. I'm gonna suffocate in here, he said. This place is like a goddamn coffin.
Claustrophobic, I said. That's right. Look, maybe this is all like a blessing in disguise, you know? How do you figure? He moved the salt and pepper shakers around the table like a kid with toy cars. Maybe you can do better. Maybe there's better things coming down the road. I snorted. Or maybe the road's a dead end. Vinny poured some salt on my hand. I shook it off and swiped the rest off the table. It will be a dead end, he said. If you say it will be. Get you some help, Ray! Chad yelled from the kitchen. Several of the customers gave me looks of violent agreement. I ignored everyone. Vinny, I said, how do you know any of this is real? Any of what? This. I gestured at everything. All of it. Us sitting here, the city outside, any of it. He looked around my little closet of a restaurant as if to verify its existence. Well, if this ain't real, then what is? I thought of my other life. That woman, that psychologist. Her, me, banging that other psychologist. I wish I could remember their names. Vinny, I whispered. He leaned in closer to hear me. I think I'm somebody else. Ray, he whispered back. You're depressed. Listen, I'm being serious here. I don't think this is real. I don't think I'm me. Vinny pushed the salt and pepper shakers away like he was suddenly disgusted by them. They got a word for that in therapy, he said. But I can't remember what it is. You need to talk to someone. I shut up. No way in hell he'd believe me. We sat a while longer and then I got up and made Vinny his calzone. I brought it out to him and wouldn't take his money. I let the rest of the customers wait. They all stared daggers at him as he left. Vinny smiled at the mob. Life isn't fair, he announced happily. I went back to my office. Someone shouted at my back, Never come in here again! When I went to bed that night, the world rippled and wavered like it always did before a shift. My body was jelly. I saw colored stars and lights swirling around behind my eyes. It felt like the world became a wave. I was a current swishing back and forth for eternity. When I finally crashed onto shore, I woke up, and I was once again that lady psychologist. I awaken in Dr. Rupert's bed. Oddly enough, this means our scandal is finished. We have consummated the end of our conflict of interest, our doctor-patient relationship. I open my eyes and scan the room where this transitional ceremony took place. It's spacious, white with morning sunlight. It's a bedroom of refinement. Polished wooden floors and walls bejeweled with fine art. Our clothes are strewn about the place like hurricane debris. The only sound is the muffled symphony of Manhattan, droning on in its eternal way, 8 stories below us. I turn over. Rupert is already awake, gazing at me. I smile, run my fingers through his hair. You should take a taxi to work today, he says. Good morning to you too, Romeo, I snort. He doesn't blink. You always say you hate the subway. I do. Especially when you bring it up on a lovely morning. He takes my hand out of his hair and kisses it. Yet you still use it, he says. I squint at him. I genuinely can't tell if you're serious. I'm as serious as psychosis, he says without a trace of irony. You've been in Manhattan for almost a year, Roya. You came all the way across the sea to live here so you wouldn't have to drive a car or even be in one. Jesus, I sigh, rolling onto my back. I thought I wasn't your patient anymore. You're my love, he says, as if that explains something. Babe, I'm not taking some jizz-stained taxi to my office. He cups my face with a hand. Then let me drive you. No! I shout. Dr. Rupert pulls his hand back. We're quiet for about 10 minutes. I stare at his vaulted ceiling and he stares at me. Dr. Rupert, I say. I insist you don't call me that anymore. He laughs. Listen! Those dreams I came to see you about are not dreams. They're real. I know, he says tenderly.
It can be very... No, god damn it! I don't need a lecture on the vividness of delusion. I know the literature as well as you do. I am telling you this is real. I am two people at once. It's been my entire life. This isn't some response to a 5-year-old trauma. He caresses my cheek with a finger, but he doesn't say anything. I turn to face him again. If we are going to be something, I tell him, something real, something more than fun, I need you to believe this and understand it. His face is puzzled, but not unkind. His blue eye is sad, but his brown one is curious. Then why did you come to me? The question is so unexpected that I chuckle. Oh, because What? He smiles. If this is all real and not an enigma of your troubled psyche, why come to me? What could I hope to do about a metaphysical problem? I'm hardly qualified for such things. I know I shouldn't be, but I'm mad at him. He's as warm and reasonable as you could ask him to be, but I'm furious. Fine, I say, rolling out of bed. I'll go wave down a fucking taxi.
I was alone in the shop when it happened. Chad and Kyle had finally quit on me. No call, no show. News had gotten out that I would soon be closed down, and business had ground down almost to nothing in a matter of days. Manhattan doesn't dwell on things. It moves on, faster than my ex-wife. The sound of the street outside wafted through the open door. One of the lights above me flickered. I was passing time counting cash in the drawer. Then he walked in. Him! The doctor, the psychologist, the one I was fucking in my other life. He strolled right into my restaurant like it was nothing. I guess to him it was nothing. The wad of cash fell out of my hand and the fans blew the bills all over the place, like leaves in a storm. Oh my, the doctor said, admiring the spectacle. The flickering light danced in his eyes, one blue, one brown. Seeing that I made no move to try and catch my money, he frowned. Would you like a hand? I know customers probably aren't allowed behind the counter, but... There was that voice. That calm, silky music. I knew it better than any song. But I'd never met him. What was his name? Why the fuck couldn't I remember? I'd been staring at him this whole time, jaw dropped to the open register. He noticed my astonishment now and scowled, trying to account for it. What's your name? I blurted. His scowl deepened. It was dawning on him just how deranged I was. He glanced around the shop and stuffed his hands in his coat pockets. Perhaps I've caught you at a bad time. Your name, I repeated. I know you. You're a psychologist. Ah, he said, inching back. Are you a friend of one of my clients? I laughed at the absurdity of the question and the even greater absurdity of its answer. This didn't make me look any less crazy. The doctor glanced over his shoulder at the door. Well, he said, I should probably be... Wait, please, I begged. I walked around the counter. Look, man, you're a doctor, and you want to help people. I need your help. I need you to tell me your name. He'd heard enough. He turned and made for the door, apologizing as he went. I dove after him and managed to swing the door shut before he could get out. He groped for the knob, but I snatched his arm back. Wait! I cried. The doctor glared at me. Let go of me, he said in a measured tone, and let me out of here. Not until you tell me your name, please. I need to be one of your clients. My whole life I thought I was crazy until I met you just now. His face curled with disgust, like I just confessed to love at first sight. He grabbed the doorknob with his other hand and tried to get out. I put my weight against the door. I'm a pretty stocky guy, and this doctor wasn't a physical type. Come on, he moaned, more scared than angry now. Look, man, I'm not gonna hurt you. I just need to know your name, please. He made another push for the door, face reddening. I wrapped him up in a bear hug and held him back. Let me out! He screamed, thrashing against me. Let me the fuck out of here! You're seeing someone! I yelled. That lady, she's a psychologist like you. She's one of your clients and you're fucking her! He went limp. I let go of him and he staggered back toward the counter. He stared at me for a long minute. I stayed quiet, let him process things. How the hell would you know about that? His voice had menace in it. I had struck some kind of nerve. Because, I said, everything she's telling you is real. His eyes blazed. He came at me and shoved me up against the wall. I didn't resist. I figured it was a lot to take in. Who are you? Who the fuck are you? What fucking game is this? No game. No game? She wouldn't do this to me. You and her are trying to play me. Is that it? Trying to get something out of me. She wouldn't do that. He sounded desperate, like he was yelling at himself more than me. You're right. She wouldn't. That's not what's going on. Then what? His breath was hot against my nose. I just told you, I said calmly. It's for real. The whole thing, everything she said to you. His brown eye twitched, his blue one bulged. He stepped back and watched me for a second. Then he pulled his keys out of his pocket and held them up. I'll kill you, he murmured. I'll do it. If you don't tell me what's going on here, I'll... He took a breath. He shook his head like a horse, then moved forward and put his car key against my neck. I will cut your throat, he said, trying to sound more convincing than he did. No, you won't, I laughed. I know you. He pressed the key harder into my skin, but drew no blood. How? He screamed. How do you know Roya? Immediately I gasped. The sound of her name, my name, felt like angels singing in heaven. The light of the next world had just spilled into my pizza shop, and all the mysteries of the universe were laid out in front of me. That was it. Roya. Roya Belford. I remembered. That was me. Tears poured down my face. I slid down against the wall to the floor, weeping with joy and hope, and I swear I could see that white light of heaven as I passed out. I come back to myself, that is myself as Roya, in the middle of a session with a client. A slightly overweight, middle-aged man named Ralph is on my couch, crying about his mother. I excuse myself and run into my bathroom. It's attached directly to my office, and I can hear Ralph snivelling on the other side of the door. I call Dr. Rupert. It rings twice, then a third time, and I become afraid he won't answer. Is he strangling me? My other me? Is he busy disposing of my body? The strangeness of this feeling can't be overstated. It's a kind of vicarious self-preservation, taken to absurd extremes. But finally he picks up. Roya, he breathes, sounding truly exasperated. Dr. Rupert! I hiss, trying to keep my voice down with Ralph outside. Where are you? Have you left the shop? So you know I'm at a shop. Tell me, has everything been a ploy? No! I moan, struggling to maintain a whisper. Ralph's sniffling goes quiet. Then what the good fuck is going on here, Roya? Who is this guy? Some old boyfriend of yours? No, I say again. Look, you're still there, right? Don't go anywhere. Let me come to you. Where could I go? Rupert laughs coldly. This brute has collapsed in front of the door. I can't hope to move him. I'm trapped. I can't tell if he's being facetious or not. Okay, I say. Just give me an address, darling. I'll be right there. Why? He sneers. The venom in his voice, the bitter distrust, is enough to break my heart. Ralph knocks on the bathroom door. Doc, he says. Everything okay in there? Just give me a minute, please, I call out. Who's this now? Rupert asks. Someone to break my kneecaps? It's
It's a client, I snap. Please, babe, this isn't a game. Just give me the address where you are. I'll come to you and we'll work this all out.
Doc!
Ralph knocks again.
Are you sure?
Just a minute, please, I shout.
Fine, Rupert says. You win. At this point, I just want to know what the fuck this is about. If it means the end of my knees, then so be it. I'll text you the address. I'll be waiting.
Thank you, I sigh with relief. I'll be there soon. I promise everything will be okay. We hang up and I walk out of the bathroom. I realize my face is coated with tears. I wipe them away as Ralph stands over me. He looks at me the way you'd look at your sweet old nanny after hearing her drop an F-bomb. I apologize, I say, brushing past him. An emergency has come up. I'll make sure you aren't charged for this session. But Doc, he begins to protest. I don't have time to listen. I rush out the door and to the elevator, abandoning Ralph just like his mother did. Rupert's text comes through just as I get out onto the street. Of course. The address flashes on my phone like a childhood memory. An old friend you can't believe you've forgotten. Of course! That's my shop! Now that I see this address, it feels as familiar as my own name. Ray's Pizza Parlor, Lower East Side of Manhattan, on the other side of the park. I watch the road and its endless stream of cars and buses and taxis. I lied to Rupert this morning. I didn't take a taxi to work. I intended to, but when the time came, I was too chicken shit. I'm too chicken shit now as well. But the fastest way to the shop is to cut through Central Park, and the subways can't help me with that. So I take off my heels and run.
I jolted awake and sat up, back against the door. The doctor was sitting at one of my little tables, chin propped on his palm, listening to the sound of new rain picking up outside. "Thank goodness you're awake," he said, all sarcasm. "Your name is Dr. Rupert," I answered, as happy as if I was announcing a pregnancy. "Ah," he sighed, taking his arm down and folding his hands. "So you do know. At last, some honesty." "I just remembered now. As soon as you said her name, things started to change. The shifts are happening more quickly, and I'm remembering. I think you've done your job, Doctor." He raised an eyebrow. "Job? What's a therapist's job? You've cured us of our mental disease." "I suppose you're referring to these delusions of living a double life. Doesn't sound to me like I've cured anything. At best, I've made it worse. At worst, I'm playing into whatever con this whole thing is about." "You know they're not delusions," I told him. "That's why you got scared." He straightened in his chair, puffing up with pride. "Scared?" I nodded, unable to contain a smug grin. "When I asked for your name, I looked like a crazy person. But in your line of work, you ought to be more comfortable around crazy than most people. You wigged out because deep down you knew this was for real, and that scares you." He scoffed. "Now you're a psychologist." "I am," I laughed. "I spend half my time as one over there with you on the west side." I continued laughing for a good minute. What else could I do? The world was a carnival of weirdness and absurdity. No other response made sense. The light above my counter flickered more rapidly than usual, like it was putting an accent on my giggles. Dr. Rupert got tired of it and stood up. "Look, it's just preposterous," he yelled over my laughter. "Shut up!" I quieted down. "It's preposterous! If you two have been living each other's lives all this time, why did you never go looking for each other? You're both here in the same city. I can't imagine it would be difficult to arrange, as you both ostensibly occupy each other's brains." I shrugged. All this time I figured I was crazy and that was it. Why would I try to meet up with a dream? I didn't think much else of it until you walked in the door. The doctor pursed his lips. "And Roya?" I took a breath, feeling a bit more sober again. "Roya's more curious. I mean, she's a goddamn psychologist. She's thought about it a few times, trying to find me, but she always talks herself out of it, because she's afraid of what will happen. Rupert nodded. Some of his tension seemed to lift. He sat back down at the table. She was afraid she wouldn't find you, he confirmed. And that would mean she's crazy. That, I said. And what if she did find me? What the hell would happen? Would the universe explode? I suppose we'll find out in a moment, Rupert said, coming back to his dry sarcasm. I worked my way back to my feet and looked out the window. There was the city going by. A proper New York monsoon had started up. People and umbrellas were darting past the window. How many millions of lives were out there that I knew nothing about and would never even catch a glimpse of again? I just had my two, which was more than most people had. All I shared with those swarms of humanity outside was a passing moment. It's kind of nerve-wracking, I said. I feel like I'm about to meet a celebrity. It's impossible, Rupert said distantly, like he'd been sitting there trying to work it out in his head. I mean, Roya says this dual consciousness has gone on her entire life. How could that be? Which one of you is older? Surely one of you would have had to have experienced a few early years of solitude, so to speak. We were born on the same day, same year, I answered, still looking out the window. Me in East Harlem, her in England. We're both 42. Maybe that has something to do with it, I don't know. Convenient, he muttered. Then I saw her, running down the sidewalk with her shoes in her hands like Satan himself was behind her. Her face was pale and youthful, stained with trails of mascara, her thick brunette hair a soaked and tangled mess. As she got closer, I could see the freckles dotting her face. My face. All the times I've looked in the mirror as Roya, I've hated those freckles more than evil itself. But now, seeing them with a different set of eyes, all I could think was that I had never seen a more beautiful human being.
The door to the shop opens just as I'm about to plough it off the hinges. I barrel inside, dripping and panting. Wiping strands of soaked hair out of my eyes, I see a burly, clean-cut, olive-skinned gentleman holding the door with tears on his cheeks. The hair on his head is mostly greyed, yet his trimmed beard is all black. Gravity yanks my shoes out of my hands. I lean against a small table and nearly topple it, close to fainting. Ray lunges over and steadies me, and I throw my arms around him, laughing like a child. You're real! You're really... I cough, feeling lightheaded.
We're not crazy, he laughs with me. And all because your therapist had a craving for pizza.
I look up at him, halfway between a stroke and euphoria. Seeing his face in anything but a mirror is a transference of impossible magnitude. The word surreal doesn't cut it. What was a dream is now a relationship, and a deeper one than any human has ever known. Every secret behind his eyes is also behind mine. Every memory he cherishes, buries, cringes at, laughs or cries over, I have lived all the same. We have stumbled upon a new dimension of honesty, one previously impossible for even the most well-intentioned of people. There is absolutely nothing we could hide from each other, even if we wanted to. If he was some stranger, this would be terrifying. But he's me. I'm him. It no longer makes sense to think of us as two different people. We are the same self in two bodies. Dr. Rupert's hand appears on my shoulder. I barely notice it.
Roya, he murmurs, you should sit down. You're going to pass out.
He and Ray guide me into one of the chairs at this little table I almost capsized. I'm fine, I assure them. I just need a minute. I mean, my God! The two of them encircle the tiny table, looking down at me. What a contrast. Ray is still glowing, weeping, grinning. But Rupert is withdrawn. The sterile, flickering light of the shop brings out lines under his frown, making him look older, more exhausted. It's strange how small my love for Dr. Rupert seems now. It isn't any smaller than it ever was, but no matter how close he and I become, it will always pale in comparison to the closeness I feel with my other me. How could it ever measure up? What love could? Can I even call this love? These words we take for granted. Love, self, relationship, I, we. They all need new definitions now. I wonder if Rupert can sense this. Whether he believes all this or not, it's clear to him that I do. I take his hand, ready to offer some word of encouragement, some comfort. But I can't find any. There are none. I'm reduced to petting his hand in silence. There are no promises I can make him, good or bad. I don't know what any of this means or where it will lead. A man walks into the shop, shaking raindrops from his hair. On the way in, he kicks one of my fallen shoes by accident. The heel thunks across the floor in a satisfying, percussive way. The guy looks down at his own shoes, then at all of us, gathered around this table like some kind of cultish ceremony.
Hello?
He ventures. He looks like a younger version of Ray. He's thinner and clean-shaven, but he has the same even brow, the same tanned complexion, the same sardonic glint in the eyes. I recognize him just as Ray does. It's Benjamin Franklin, the guy who bought our Camaro.
Hey!
Ray booms. He steps over to Ben Franklin and gives him an enthusiastic handshake.
So you came to get that calzone after all, did you?
Ben Franklin grins, taken aback at Ray's exuberance, but not unamused.
Yeah, well, my buddy told me you were closing down. I got scared I was running out of time.
Ray claps him on the back like a used car salesman.
Your buddy tells the truth.
But that's okay, it's alright, things have a way of working out.
Hey, did you bring her with you?
Ray cranes his neck around, trying to see the road outside.
Sure did,
says Ben Franklin. You want to say hi? Ray puts a hand on his heart and swoons.
More than you can know.
In fact, I'll make you a deal.
You let me take her around the block once, and you get a free meal.
Ben Franklin gleams and hands Ray his keys.
Don't mind if I do.
Ray rattles the keys in my direction.
Time to get back on the horse, you. Let's go, little lady.
As he trots outside, he calls over his shoulder.
Hold down the fort, Franklin.
I laugh and get up to follow him. Rupert gives me a look of agony. I'll be right back, I promise him. We're just going around the block. I hesitate and fluff his hair. Okay?
Go ahead,
he relents, half smiling.
I'm just happy you're getting into a car.
I give him a quick kiss and run outside, brushing past a dazed Ben Franklin, who probably assumed he would be Ray's passenger. The Camaro isn't far up the street. Red paint glossed and shining in the rain. Ray is standing on the passenger side, waiting, beaming as if it isn't a downpour. He tosses me the keys and we hop inside, me in the driver's seat. As we close the doors, the abrasive hiss of the rain becomes a hypnotic patter. It's odd, sitting behind this steering wheel in this body. I feel too small for it, my legs stretching too far to the pedals. But it's as familiar as childhood. I have 20 years of memories in this car I've never seen. Ray laughs, watching me take all this in.
You want to know something funny?
He asks.
I saw something of myself in that kid when he bought this from me. I was close to his age when I bought it. I was new hot shit with my new classic car. When I gave Ben Franklin the keys, I was thinking I had been in his shoes. That I was living his moment over again. Vicarious-like.
His last words are broken up by a howling giggle, a deep belly laugh he hasn't experienced since he was married. I put the keys in the ignition and the car roars to life, growling beneath me. I tell Ray, I remember.